Tell them.
What you mean? But hold on, good people, great people, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Ollie's Office. And here with me, I have introduce yourself, what you do, how you do it, right? Let's get it
Come on,
cracking.
girl. My name is Ari. I am a regular person. I am a nurse. Every now and again, I dip and dab on social media. Yeah.
Dip and dab? What do you mean by dip and dab? We have a celebrity in our midst.
I am on a celebrity show, which, honestly is an honor. Never felt that.
Wow.
So, we grow every day. You know what I mean? I'm again, just honored to be here.
Stop playing with me. I'm not fit to play with you. I'm not. This is out of pocket. Okay, so here is what it is that we are going to discuss today, because I think that me and Ari had a conversation that precluded this conversation. But then after we said what we said at the end, she said I had more questions, and this is the follow-up to this conversation. So we're having a conversation essentially about earning and, the difference in earning potential between men and women, how those things shift the dynamics of power and relationships, just those types of conversations. And I think that I gave her some conclusions from a man that I don't think she really was like, I don't know if I really think that this is facts. So, Ms. Ari.
Lead, because you can't just say so, Miss Ari. Give me something to go off of, and okay. I'll go. I'll elaborate.
So, first and foremost, would you say that earning more than men has been a point of difficulty for you throughout dating?
Yes.
Why?
There's a variety of reasons. I feel like it depends on what kind of man you're dealing with, and what their situation is. When I am out earning someone by a substantial amount, there does seem to be a lot of insecurity that comes with that. And the reason why I say that is because it might not even be a thing. Like, I could just be doing something for myself, and there will be like negative reaction to that, or you think you're better than, and it's like, I'm not even doing nothing. I am doing something for it's not because I'm not saying like, you broke ass, like I'll just do it myself. I'm doing what I normally do for myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm buying the things that I would normally buy for myself. It has nothing to do with you. But oftentimes, like, it'll strum up this argument, whereas like I'm trying to make it a thing or make it a point to let I bought this thing or I did this thing, blah, 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 because you couldn't. And it's like, that's not it. Now, men who do have money that I've dated, and men who've had a lot of money that I dated, I noticed like they're used to women dating them because they have money. I am not rich, but I'm comfortable. I do not really desire a more glamorous life per se. So I'm good. So if you come at me with money, like, it's nice. I think that things are cute, but I'm not impressed. And like, that turns them off as well, because now the tricks that they pull that's usually keeping, they don't work. I need something else. Be an actual likable person. Like, and I don't think that a lot of men are ready to actually be likable people, because in most cases, like, the money thing works. Even if she doesn't like you, she'll let you spend money on her. She'll spend time with you if she knows, like, she's going to get X, Y, and Z. That's not the case with me. I don't care about none of that. So then I become a more difficult task.
In what way?
Again, in the way that, like, yes, you can wine and dine me all day long, but like, again, I'm not impressed by that, because if I wanted to do that, I could.
Okay, so I want to explore this from both ends of the spectrum, because I think that this is very interesting, because a lot of the times we tend to focus on the end of the spectrum where the woman is out earning the man, especially in Black relationships or Black relationship dynamics, we tend to look at it that way. But you've also posited a different set of dynamics that happens at the other end of the spectrum, which is when men actually can provide, or they can, give this financial stability, then other spaces of stability begin to lack, if I'm hearing that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So see, I don't want to get too deep into it. I don't want to ask for too many examples, but can you give me an example of when you recognized that because a man did not have money, he was not able to provide, and then when he did have money, he was not able to provide?
So, yeah, I used to date this one guy, and he was a creative or whatever. He was a photographer. Cool, fine, whatever. I don't care nothing about none of that shit, whatever. He also did like clothing design, all this stuff, whatever, cool. Again, I don't care about none of that shit. He was earning very little, like very, very little. And I found out later that he was actually sleeping on his mom's couch, which that's not my business. It's not my business. But it became my business when he actually moved to my state and into my house. Okay. Now, again, I live a comfortable life. Like I'm cool, I'm, whatever. And at first everything was cool. Now I was paying for everything, which is irritating over time, you know what I mean? Especially if that was not what you discussed. Like what we discussed was that you don't have a lot of money, but we didn't discuss is that you don't have any at all. So I'm paying for the rent, I'm paying all the bills, I'm paying for all the food, like everything, literally everything, which again was cool at first, but then it got to the point where he, with no money, was telling me what to do with my money. So if I wanted to go out with my friends, then it was a lecture about how I should be doing X, Y, and Z with my money, and you're being reckless, and you're just out here spending, da 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 da, blah blah. And it's like, I work, like I earned this money, like this is really my money, and it became like every little thing to the point where like this dude was asking for access to like my bank app so he can see what I spent on. And it's like, this is not our money. This is not our money. It's not. Or whatever. And I don't feel a need to like throw it in your face. I don't talk about the fact that you're literally living with me as opposed to sleeping on your mom's couch. But what you won't do is tell me what to spend my money on. And it's causing arguments. How is this causing arguments? How? In a house that your name is not on, like your name isn't on this lease, your name isn't on any of these bills, your name's not on the account, you're not putting anything into the account.
Right.
When you go home to visit, I'm paying for those flights like a dumbass. But you want to argue with me about what I do with the other money that I have. But when you have a venture you want to go on or a project you want to work on that you're short on, you don't have any problem asking me for it. That's worthy of me spending on, but doing the regular things that I would normally do with my friends is not. It's not okay.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it was less about the money and more about the control.
Possibly, yeah. Because again, like I said this before on other things, but like there are, like when you have more money as a woman, you have a little bit more options. And I'm not saying that money itself is what gives us it's just one of those things that can open you up to a little bit more options. And if you're into control like that, you're not feeling that. Like I legit, like, because I'm a night shifter. I'm like, you know what? Like I want to go back to night shift. And on top of that, when you get a night shift, you get a night shift differential. Great. You're not going to night shift. You're telling me that I'm not going to night shift? Why? There's no reason why. Anyway, then I was dating a guy who had a lot of money. I was a real estate developer or whatever. Cool, fun times. When I met him, I was in between assignments, right? And sometimes I can take months off at a time. I do that sometimes. And when I met him, I was in one of those times. And to the point where like he thought I was lying about being like, he was like, he never heard of what a travel nurse was. So he thought I was lying. Like he's like, there's no way in hell, whatever. And when we first started kicking it, everything was cool. Like we went on a couple dates. One time, like we went to a strip club one time. And like I think I had got my own, did I get my own cash? I got my own cash, which whatever. And then at one point in the middle of the night, I like got up to go get another drink. And I'm like, hey, like, do you want one? Or whatever. And he was feeling that. He's like, oh, like, shoot, like that's dope. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, whatever. Cool, cool, cool. And then I got into this phase where like I wanted to stay home because some shit was going down at home. So I didn't want to travel out of state like I had originally planned. I decided to stay home, and it was really hard to find an assignment that at that time here. So of course, like you're gonna burn through your money eventually, right? As I was burning through the money, everything was fine. Everything was cool. We're still hanging. We're still doing X, Y, and Z. He's not worried about it. He doesn't pay my bills. Also, he has money, whatever. I got an assignment. At that time, it was the highest paying assignment I ever had, right? Highest paying. I did all the things that I would naturally do, or anyone would naturally do when they were literally out of money and then got back to the money. You're gonna do the things that make you look and feel good right off top. I'm gonna get my hair done. I'm gonna get my nails done. Like I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. He didn't like that. You got a new job. Now you changed. You different. And I'm like, I'm not, how am I different? Oh, you can't like, and to this day, if you ask him about it, oh, you had all this hair down your back and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but my personality didn't change though. It didn't. But like the whole like appearance change and all of that, like that was a thing. Cause I'm not down no more. And to say that I was a different person, then nigga, I was depressed. I was broke. And when you were wanting to hit me up to hang out, of course I wanted to go hang out. Like I was available all the time. And so the other side of that was it became an issue because it was like, well, what if I want to see you and, you at work? Sir, regular adults work. What are you talking about? But again, it's not that I was too unavailable, is that I wasn't as available as I was before. And also, like now, like you don't have that one up because again, a lot of men who have money are used to women dating them because they have money. I do not care.
So once again, I'm posing a question. Is it about the money or is it about the control? Because in both of these situations, you stipulated that this person was attempting to control what it is.
I mean, I think that it boils down to the control. And again, because like I said, what the fuck? Okay. Anyway, as I said, when you're a woman, like when you have more money, you have a little bit more control over your life, which means they have less control over your life. And for some men, not all, some men, they don't like that. They do not like that.
I can agree, right? And here's why. So as a man, thinking about being able to provide, as I guess you could say as progressive as I would like to call myself, what may have you, there are still things that I fall victim to as it relates to gender roles and, stuff like that. And one of those things is being able to quote unquote provide. It bothers me when I can't. And I was like, it's like, yo, I understand. I get that. I understand all of the technological, the theories. I get it. When it really boiled down to it, bro, if I can't give my shorty some money, I don't feel good, right? So go ahead. I'm listening.
No, go ahead.
No, ask the question.
When you can't give her money for what?
Anything. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Being able to provide in some way, shape, or form. It does not. And do you see how arbitrary that is? Like it doesn't even have to be attached to anything. I just want to be able to
like being a provider, but it's like you're not married.
Doesn't matter.
Like that's not the expectation.
You should.
If you're dating
I really want you
when
to think
I'm
about that,
dating
Ari.
someone anyway,
I
my
want you to think
expectation
about
is
that.
not that they finna be giving me money and paying my bills. That's not
But
it.
wait, hold on. You just said the expectation. You did not define, or you did not stipulate when the expectation exists or where it does. You just said that's not the expectation. No. It's not the expectation for you.
I mean, okay.
It's not the expectation for you, right? However, the expectation does exist. So a lot of men are in this space where they're like, I have to learn how to provide, or I have to learn how to. So there's a conversation that's very popular in like the social media sphere, the Twitter sphere, the TikTok sphere, where it's this idea that men don't have, the bar for men is very low. I agree.
Ooh,
It is
in
quite
hell.
low. And
R is in hell.
and for a lot of men, because of the way that we have been socialized, that bar for us is, I'm not even gonna say it's astronomical, but it's pretty fucking high. And and here, wait, I'm not excusing it. What I'm saying is that the way that it is that we have been socialized to think about things that are feminine or things that require emotional vulnerability make the bar higher. Because it's like, what seems like simple A, B, and C to you all is like rocket science to some men, because it requires a level of emotional vulnerability that a lot of men have been taught not to engage in. How does this relate to money? Very simple. I, as a man, it is difficult for me to break down or to say to my girl, I feel like shit because I can't provide. I feel like trash because I have been taught that the expectation is for me to be able to provide. And because I can't, I feel like shit, right? That requires a particular level of emotional vulnerability to say.
Does.
Right? That's one. Once again, not excusing, just providing context. That's one. Two, on the other side of that, where a man not only meets but exceeds that level of being able to provide, it then becomes, I'm doing what it is, I'm doing the bare minimum expectation. Why are you asking for anything else? I'm already providing you what it is that you need, quote unquote. I'm providing, I'm giving these funds, I'm giving this lifestyle, right? How can you be upset? What do you mean your needs are not being, right? So that's the reason why I had to contextualize it the way that I did, because for a lot of men, providing is one dimensional. And if they are not performing in that one dimension, or their performance in that one dimension tends to contextualize their behaviors or their communication styles with women.
I just feel like I feel like all of that is like, it's literally to your own detriment every single time. And like, I've seen it happen, and it blows my mind each and every time. And I don't know why. I should not be surprised at like patterns and regular behaviors, but like I am. So right when I started right before I started travel nursing. Yeah, this is like a year out from when I graduated or whatever. And I started dating this guy. It was like the guy that I dated for like a long time. Like that was like at one time the love of my life, like legit. And we have been dating for quite some time. It was the most perfect thing I'd ever experienced in life. Like he was everything, all of that. When I first met him, he had just got a new job or whatever. Now, I did not out earn him at the time, and he came from money. So whatever I did not faze him. But he had just got a new job at the time. He worked in corporate America, and when he got it, it was like big money. Like this is where he was trying to be, blah, blah. So he was feeling good. Over the course of time, he realized the job was not what he thought it was going to be. And he was miserable at some point. Like he got miserable. So the person that I knew, or the person that I met, was slowly dwindling or whatever, because I was new to the city-ish or whatever. So it's like, oh, like, we got to go see X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, cool, bet. I don't need you to take me to go see the city, but like, it's cute that you want to, whatever. We never went anywhere. Not like we went out to eat, all that stuff, but like we never went out anywhere. We never did anything social. He was not social at all. And like, that's not me or whatever. And on top of that, like he was always like, I don't want to say on edge, but like I would literally avoid conversations just because I didn't want to argue. That's where we got to. So come to find out, he was super stressed out, all of that in the end. But we got to one point where it's like, we hadn't said I love you, but like we did or whatever. It was very obvious. We would say everything but that. And one night he literally just looked at me and said, like, I feel like, you know, you're getting to a point where, you know, you're starting to feel certain things, blah, blah. And basically was like, I don't love you. Like, I can't love you right now. And like, I know that's what's like on your mind, but like, no. And I'm like, my nigga, what? So I, at that time, was crushed because that was the point where it was like in my mind, like, oh my God, like I feel things or whatever. So the relationship deteriorated, of course, because nigga, you just told me you don't love me and you don't know when you're going to be able to, and all these other things. And you expect me to just wake up every day and like, be like, okay, cool. Yeah, bet. So anyway, we end up breaking up over time or whatever, because again, it deteriorated from there, like literally from that point forward. And some years passed, whatever, we talked about it again. And he was upset that I'm like, well, you know, like, this is what, you know, this is how you used to be. Then you turned into this, blah, blah. Well, Ariel, like I was miserable, but you never told me that. And he's like, oh, like, you know, I would get off work, then I would come see you, and you don't know what that would take out of me. You never told me. You never told me. Because I worked night shift. So if you're coming to my house for the night, that means I'm off that night. I can come see you that night. Because even if I work tomorrow, I don't have to work until tomorrow night. So you're stressing yourself out doing all of this, and you don't have to. You put yourself there for what? All you had to do was say something. All you had to do was say something. It was not that deep.
But see, that's the thing. It was, and it is, right? So here's the thing. Once again, going back into this whole idea of providing being something that for a lot of men is one-dimensional, right? Us being able to express what it is that we are feeling, for some women who can tolerate that, is a type of emotional need being met for them, because we are then giving you an opportunity to empathize with us in ways that are quite intimate. And a lot of men miss that because it doesn't seem, because we have been taught that, once again, intimacy is one-dimensional. It only exists on a physical plane. It's hard for us to conceptualize emotional vulnerability as an act of intimacy. It's hard for us to conceptualize it that way, right? But once again, we're looking at it from the context of being able to provide, because for a lot of men, and it's doing research on traditional masculinity is wild, because it makes everything make so much sense, right? A lot of men do not develop their purpose, or they develop part of their purpose, part of their feelings of worth. They develop some of it from family. A lot of it comes from their occupation, what they do, how they can provide, how much money they can bring in, right? It's similar to how some women, how they define their purpose is their ability to be nurturing, or their ability to be motherly in a way, not necessarily being mothers, but being motherly or being nurturing. Is, once again, am I saying that these things are correct? No. Am I saying that these are statistically measurable patterns of behavior that most of us fall in some type of way? Absolutely.
Right? I mean, yeah. And it's crazy because when we had the conversation later, he was like, you know, like, he was like, I did love you at that time. I did a whole lot. He was like, but I felt like if he said it, he needed to be ready for, like, he's like, you know, marriage and all. And I'm like, whoa, like, that's not, we weren't there, you know, like we were into, but like, we weren't there. Like, why? Like, admitting that you love me too, because it's very clear, it was very obvious, you know what I mean? And we both felt that. You could not say it because you felt like then you needed to be preparing for, and you weren't there yet. And it's like, but bro, like, But
it goes into that whole idea of that expectation.
Because my whole thing is, if he just didn't say it, I don't feel like it would have been as big of a thing as if he didn't go. I mean, as him going out of his way to say that he didn't, and that he didn't know when he would be able to, when he could. But I mean, you know, and all because, again, so many things you could have just said. So many things you could have just said.
We know sometimes it's hard.
Like,
it is hard, right?
Because what are we really doing? I won't say but like, if the person that you're with is not a safe space, then what are we really doing?
Wait, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there, right? Once again, and this all in some way, shape, or form roots back to the idea of being able to earn, right? Being able to feel useful. A number of men are not safe spaces within themselves. So they perceive a lot of external spaces to be unsafe spaces. That's one. Two, once again, when we're talking about this idea of purpose or providing or being able to give something to a household, a number of men are taught that they are supposed to be the breadwinners. They are supposed to be the top earners. That is the expectation that is built. The expectation is not to complain. The expectation is not to voice your emotions. The expectation is not to come back to your wife and say, I feel like, no. The expectation is for you to muscle through it, bite the bullet, go get the, you know what I'm saying? Go get the paper and come back. That's the expectation. Now, hold on. Right? Now, is that on its own toxic? Yes, right? Because it parades this idea that you are not supposed to be emotionally vulnerable with your spouse. And hold on, I'm almost done. And there are a number of women who, because they have internalized the same expectation of men, make it very difficult for them to feel safe in those spaces.
So here's the other thing. It's like, okay, I can understand like some women having certain expectations and that not feeling safe, whatever, cool, right? I feel like by the time you've chosen a spouse that y'all have adjusted to each other's expectations, maybe, I don't know, people be wilding. But what's important to remember is while you're out here biting the bullet, it's rubbing off on everybody else. Because I feel like men bite the bullet and they feel like no one around them feels it. That y'all think that no one sees it, and we see it, we feel it, we're experiencing it. It's rubbing off on the people around you in a negative way. This same guy, they had money. They had hella money, but his dad was an asshole. But they had the biggest house on the block. So in his head, what the fuck are y'all complaining about? Don't complain about shit. Don't say shit to me. Don't tell me shit. You got the biggest house on the block. Meanwhile, you're abusive, you're unavailable, you're super toxic. No one in your house even speaks to you, but you feel good because you're providing. If I had to choose between the two, no, thank you. And honestly, when I thought about like down the line, once I finally like got outside myself and decided, like realized like this is not for you, because again, we tried more than one time, but it was like you would have had everything. You would have had everything, but you would have been miserable. Because he literally would have been just like his dad. The way that he would have been just like his dad. So that's why I said, like, I don't care about none of that. Because I literally saw it. Like, I could see it. You know, the houses he was looking at, like all of that, I would love to do it. I would like to see it. But also though, is that worth me being literally miserable all the time? Is it worth me tiptoeing around you and your feelings and your emotions because you're biting the bullet all the time and not saying anything, so you're stressed the fuck out, so you stay on 100? It
No,
ain't worth it
it
to
don't
me.
matter as long as the bank accounts look right.
It don't it's not worth it to me personally.
Right. So when we're talking about, once again, and it comes back to the same idea of being able to provide, or rather being able to provide in what you think providing is. So I'm going to give you an example. As a man, not only as a Black man, but as an Igbo man, right? My idea of providing, excuse me, my idea of providing is being able to provide for not only just my nucleic family, but an entire village of people. When I say village, I mean anywhere upwards of like 10. That's in my mind, right? Now, is that something that's realistic? Probably not, at least now, right now, right? Is that something that I can facilitate with my own two hands? It's probable, right? It's possible, but it would be difficult to do over time. Now, as it relates to a more, how can I say, a more realistic concept of providing, I haven't gotten there yet, right? I haven't gotten there yet because I don't know, like, the idea of being able to provide is now so arbitrary to me, and it's so abstract that I'm looking at it in a multi-dimensional format. Because right now, am I able to provide for myself and somebody else? Yeah. You feel me? I can definitely do that. Am I able to facilitate what it is that I would like to do when I would like to do it? For the most part, yeah, I can rock with that. Am I detached enough from my income so that if my income were to falter, I would still maintain my emotional availability? That's where I'm doing work.
So here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's you, right? You're putting these expectations on yourself, right? Because
Wait,
you're
hold
saying,
on.
because no,
I'm
because the
listening.
thing
I'm
is,
listening.
no,
I'm
no,
listening.
the thing is, like you're
I'm
saying
listening.
all these things, but depending on who you're talking to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That might not make them feel provided for. If you're emotionally unavailable, they might not feel provided for at all, despite what it is that you're providing in your mind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, there was a point there. Anyway, but again, like you're applying that pressure to yourself. Because you could be doing all of that. For example,
Uh-huh.
if my way of showing love was like buying gifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I am not a huge gift giver because I'm terrible at picking out gifts. But anyway, if that was my thing and receiving gifts wasn't your thing, I could buy you everything, right? And then I'm gonna look at you like you crazy when you are not feeling loved because I bought you everything. That's my way of showing love, but that's not your way of receiving love.
I understand what it is you're saying completely.
So it's like why though? It's like why is this? Because it should be evaluated on a case to case, but depending on who you're dealing with, depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
Because again, some people are going to look at you and be like, nobody asked you for all that. Like, no one asked you about all that. You're putting yourself under all this pressure. Mm-hmm. You're talking yourself out of so many things when whole time doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter.
And once again, the same thing you said to me, I can say to you, right? It doesn't matter to you. Because if we're thinking about it like this, breaking it down in such a way where we're recognizing that, okay, these dynamics exist. We are simply having a conversation about these dynamics and how they exist, but we recognize that they exist. If it was as simple as what it is that we were stipulating, then these dynamics wouldn't exist, but they do, right? So when we're talking about how we as people fall within these dynamics, because I'm gonna keep it $150 with you, right? I don't mind women purchasing things for me. It takes me a little minute, right? I'm like, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'll accept it if that's really something that she enjoys doing, right? That's just how it is that I am. Because, hold on. Because I would be lying if I said oh, I can just readily accept this or readily accept that. I would rather tell you the truth and saying, you know what, this makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I am working towards being more open in this space rather than to lie to you and say, oh, yeah, I'm completely and totally cool with that. Like, I would prefer it to, and this is just for me personally. I don't like feeling as if though, once again, like I'm a useless ass nigga. Like I'm doing nothing. Like, and I've noticed that if I'm in a low cash flow space, the things that I try to do in terms of like holding open doors, pumping gas, like stuff like that, that tends to increase because I want to make sure that I'm in some way, shape, or form providing.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. You said when your cash flow is low, those things seem to increase.
Yes.
Why are they not that high all the time, even when you have cash flow?
Pause. You just tried me as if though those things are not high like that.
I'm not saying that they're not, but you said increase. That means above baseline.
Right.
So why are you going above baseline when your cash flow is low instead of that just being your baseline?
You imply that the baseline is not already high. I'm not saying that the baseline is not already high. What I'm saying is that when my cash flow is low, those things tend to increase. The reason why they tend to increase, I know why they increase is because I'm attempting to overcompensate for the lack of cash flow. I know why it happens. But whoa, hold on. Your implication, or rather your response, implied that the baseline was low or it varies based upon my cash flow. No.
That's not what I said.
I didn't say that's what you said. I said that's what was implied.
If you say that they tend to increase, that means that there is room for you to do it more often. Right. What I am saying is if you have more opportunities to open doors and pump gas and shit like that, why is that not already like as high as you're increasing it to?
So let me ask you a question.
Because you're providing more. And that's what I mean when I say there tends to be this trade-off.
Right.
When men have money and when men are paying for things and when they are doing that, they are lacking in some other area.
I feel what you're saying.
Because you don't feel like you have to.
But hold on. This is where you and I will defer. Here's why. One, you said you don't feel like you have to, and you missed my point. I said that the baseline is already high. Now, the question I was going to ask you was this. Do you have a vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you always drive it to the top of its capabilities every time you drive it?
What do you mean? No.
Exactly. Because you will burn the engine out, right? For me, as an individual, when there is one thing that is present, the other thing does not necessarily lack, but I need to make space for everything to be in balance. For me, if I am at a space where my cash flow is low, that's me operating at an extreme space. So there's going to be something else that compensates for me being in an extreme space. And it is usually those showings of, how can I say it? Those showings of being a gentleman. Now, does that mean that the baseline for those things are already low? No, they're actually, once again, quite high. I do them on a regular basis. It's just that for me, I know that when I'm in a particular space, those things tend to increase. The reason why I do not do them at that capacity all the time is because that could come off a little, how can I say? At that rate, consistently, that can come off a little insincere.
I don't know that I would say insincere.
So if somebody complimented you every single day in the same way, consistently, you wouldn't think at some point in time they were complimenting you just to compliment you and not because they actually wanted to compliment you?
Not in the same way, yeah. Like,
okay. I was just making sure.
But the thing is, like I don't feel like those things get old. Like I don't feel like opening doors and because the thing is like, I don't know, I feel like we view it in a different way.
Come on, Miss Ari.
Like I wouldn't be blinking twice at the fact, oh my God, like all he does is pump my gas all the time, but so what? Like every time, like I dated somebody, that's what they did. Like, do not get out. Who are you? Like, this is your car, but like, close that goddamn door. Like, I'm going to pump the gas. And it was weird for me, right? Because that shit gets weird for us too sometimes.
Exactly.
Especially if you are used to doing everything yourself.
Yes.
And again, if I'm doing something myself, it's not because I don't think you can, it's because that's the habit I'm into or whatever. And so like it became a thing where it's like, no, like my girl, she's not pumping her own gas, she's not doing this, she's not doing X, Y, and Z. And it just became a thing. I didn't feel like it was ingenuine at all, because it's the same actions, yes, but every single time, like I'm like, dang, like boom.
And that's my point, right? So for me as an individual who does these things on a regular basis, the person will not perceive a change in what it is that I'm doing if I do it on a regular basis anyway, right? I recognize that it's an overdrive because I recognize the emotion within myself pushing that to be an overdrive. Because I do it with the other person on a regular basis, they don't perceive the difference. I perceive the difference. That was my point in saying my baseline, my personal baseline is high and consistent to the point where the women around me know how I operate. They wouldn't perceive the overdrive. I perceive it, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is this. The reason why you perceive it differently from the way that I would perceive it is because you're a woman, right? And that's not being, hold on, that's not being sexist in any way, shape, or form. It has more to do with the experiences, right? Because once again, not necessarily that there's an expectation, but there's a reality that exists that there are men out here who attempt or are learning how to provide in different ways outside of just financially. And when you all come across those men, it's interesting because it's like, damn, I really have to get used to something like this.
But my question is, is there so because you said an increase, right? Is there an increase in you performing these things or an increase in the amount of energy you're pouring into these things? Because you said they don't notice a difference. So if they don't notice a difference, that means like what you're actually doing is not increasing. That doesn't mean you're doing it more often. If I'm correct, I'm asking, it means that like the way that your brain is processing it, like is a lot more prominent during that time.
I'm so glad that you made that clear because I never said I increased the behaviors themselves. I just said
that I was asking. That
look,
was my question.
Look at you learning, deducting, right?
I didn't learn that. Anyway,
I didn't learn. Hush. Listen, my point is
that's not what happened. But okay.
What happened, Miss Ari?
I was asking for clarity.
Right. And in order for you to get that clarification, what needs to happen?
Anyway, sir, am I correct?
If I say that you're correct, did you not learn?
Am I correct? Yes or no?
Did you not learn? Yes or no?
Am I correct?
I heard what you said.
Excuse me, I'm a guest. Okay. I am is that how you treat guests?
Yes.
My God.
You will be fine. Yes, you are correct. There's an increase in the energy that I'm putting behind these actions. And the reason being is because the energy is not being spent in other places that we have internalized as men to be traditionally masculine. That's one. But also two, that goes into the conclusion of what it is that I'm saying, which is in each of these spaces, there's still a particular type of energy that is being put forward. The reality of the situation is, or what happens a lot of times is because we as men do not see the value. And when I say the value, I genuinely mean the value in putting forth energy into being more emotionally available or attempting to communicate, the frustrations that we have in our jobs or in our occupations, or the frustrations that we feel even when we don't feel as if though we have a purpose. Because a lot of us do not see the worth in those things, we do not put forth the energy to do those things, which then creates that space where it's like, I either got to provide through money, control, like it has to do with money. It has to have something to do with money because for us, money is provided.
Yikes. I don't like that. I don't like that whole money is providing thing. It doesn't.
It's not for you
Doesn't
to
sit
like.
well with my spirit. It just doesn't.
It's not for you to like. It's really not for you to grapple with.
I mean, I get it, but like also like again, it's like it's to your own detriment and the detriment of the person that you're dealing with. Because again, like in your head, you'll be going through all these things and telling yourself all these stories about what you can and can't do. And I can't be with this person because I XYZ blah blah. Whole time, they're like, what? What?
Nurse Ari, I will say.
Because what I'm saying, okay.
We almost out of time, so
Because
we're gonna have to
listen,
do it around two. But I'm listening.
because listen,
Huh?
homeboy at the time or whatever, like he did all of that because he felt what you felt, right?
Right.
He felt this pressure of providing. He was unhappy. He wasn't sure. XYZ, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool, bye.
Right.
But he broke my heart because of that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It was to the detriment of him, to me, to the entire relationship, because you didn't communicate that. Or we couldn't have conversation about that. And it's like, if you're feeling pressure about talking about your feelings about me with me, but also feeling pressure that if you admit how you feel to me, that you then need to be prepared to provide on a higher level because now we're talking marriage. It's like, how are those two existing in the same space?
Which is the reason why I said we may need to have a part two, because, and I really want to say this, and I need you to listen to me when I say this. There is a perception of safety or a space of safety that a lot of men do not get because they do not have the emotional vocabulary to speak about it. Or when they do speak about it, what is usually said in return is, I don't understand why you're thinking about that. That don't really matter. Da, 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 da. There's a lot of minimization that comes with that. A lot of it, right? Oh, please don't make that face because you utilize the multitude of minimizing phrases throughout this joint.
I didn't say I didn't
It's
say
okay. And it's okay. It's okay, right? Because when we come to Odie's office, all we're going to learn is, you know what I'm saying, communication, peace, love, and stuff like that. So, Ms. Ari, do you have any closing statements before we hop up out of here?
All I'm saying is those feelings are not invalid. They're not. Okay. And when I say that nobody cares about all that, I'm not saying that your feelings aren't valid. What I'm saying is that there are people who are able to receive those things and understand. There are people who aren't, or whatever. If you are to the point where you're feeling that amount of pressure, chances are the person that you are with probably will understand that. So when I say nobody cares about that, I'm not saying that I don't care that you feel that way. I'm saying that I'm not holding that against you. I'm saying that I understand or whatever, but also like, let's talk this through because this doesn't have to be the make or break. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that your feelings aren't valid. I'm not saying there's no reason for you to feel that way.
No.
I get it because masculinity and all that stuff, but you know, whatever. But like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're not given the chance. And a lot of us do operate out of spaces of like where we've been and what we've experienced in the past and yada, yada. And to both men and women, that's to our own detriment because women do it too, just for other reasons. That's all I'm saying. So when it comes to money and finances and all of that, like, again, some of us are fine where we are. Some of us are, regardless whether or not you're with us or not, we're going to provide for ourselves. We're going to make it. We're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. We're going to be comfortable. I'm not looking at you for that. That's not why I came to you. If I'm spending time with you and it's because I like you. It don't have nothing to do with what I see you might be able to do for me because financially, there's not anything. Not saying that you couldn't provide a better life because yes, there are men out here who could. I'm not living the high life or whatever, but I'm comfortable where I'm at. Now, are there enough women out here looking for a come up for you to feel that way? Absolutely. I just don't think that, I don't know. I've been doing this for quite some time. So for me, it seems a lot more clear. It seems a lot more cut and dry than it may actually be. because again, I've been doing this for a while. But
Thank you, Miss Ari. I greatly appreciate your time.
you're welcome.
Don't say it like that. Rudeness.
Like what?
You're welcome. We gonna talk. We gonna talk. Hey, peace, y'all, man. Peace, love, soul, and Butter Rose.